Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Michigan's Legends and Haunts. Make sure you follow us on social media so you get updates about the show. Melissa, where can they find us?
You can find us at facebook.com/mysterious.mila and instagram.com/mysterious.mila. And don't forget, if you like the show, please consider becoming a patron on Patreon.
You can find us at patreon.com/mysteriousmila. Don't forget to follow us wherever you listen and to rate us on Apple Podcasts. On Michigan True Crime Episode 2, we're talking about the Bath School Massacre.
Let me out of here! We're coming for you. Welcome. What is that? To Michigan's Legends and Haunts.
All right, let's talk about the Bath School Massacre, Melissa.
All right.
More dead kids. So for those that don't know, Bath Township is a very, very small community. It's actually an unincorporated community. It's northeast of Lansing. The area was mostly agricultural in the 1920s, which is... We're taking this way back. We're taking this to the 20s. In 1922, voters in the area approved a school district as well as an increase in property taxes to pay for the new school. It may not seem important now, but it becomes important later. On opening, the school had 236 students, all ranging from grades 1 to 12. And due to the small population of about 300 people, that's really fucked up if you think about it. 300 people and 236 students. I guess they can come from other areas. Never mind. Ignore me. All residents were subject to higher property taxes to help pay for the school. So, a key player in the Bath Massacre is a man by the name of Andrew Kehoe. So Andrew Kehoe was born in Tecumseh, Michigan on February 1st, 1872. After graduating high school, Andrew went on to study electrical engineering at Michigan State College in East Lansing, which I am going to safely assume is probably Michigan State University now.
Yeah.
He then moved to St. Louis, Missouri and worked as an electrician. And eventually he moved back to Michigan to work on his father's farm. Now, after Andrew's mother passed, it's said that his father moved on and married a much, much younger woman, and they had a daughter together. But in 1911, as she was attempting to light the oil stove in the home, it exploded and set her on fire. Andrew attempted to put the fire out by throwing a bucket of water on her. I feel bad for laughing. But because the fire was oil-based, the water ended up fueling the fire, and she later died of her injuries. Later theories were that the stove was tampered with and Andrew was to blame. In 1912, Andrew married Ellen Price, and several years later, the couple moved to a farm just outside of Bath. Neighbors described him as being impatient with those who disagreed with him, and he was even accused of shooting the neighbor's dog for annoying him with its barking.
So this guy's not happy. He's just not a happy dude.
No. I mean, I thought I was
He's
kind
like
of an asshole, but...
grumpy old neighbor that the kids stay away from.
Get off my lawn!
Yeah. Yep.
Perfect. He also beat one of his horses to death when it didn't do what he wanted it to do. So the guy very much so has like a my way or highway mentality, even towards his animals.
Yep. Clearly.
In 1924, so we're skipping ahead a few years here, Andrew was elected as a trustee to the school board.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And he served for 3 years in that position. But wait, it gets better. For a year after that, after the first 3 years, he served for a year as the treasurer. Yeah. One of his most passionate arguments was for lower taxes. And he was described as we said, extremely difficult to work with and took a my way or highway approach with those he worked with on the school board. So, over and over again, he would accuse the superintendent of financial mismanagement. And Andrew argued countless times with the township to reduce the valuation of his property and unsuccessfully tried to get the mortgage removed as well. And, of course, the bank foreclosed on his home in June of 1926.
Surprise.
So he's trying to fight his animals. He's trying to fight the school board. He's trying to fight the bank. You would think after a while this guy would just give up because nobody is wanting to go his way.
Right.
So, any thoughts so far on this gentleman?
This guy's just an asshole to begin with.
In 1925, Andrew was appointed to fill the position of town clerk. So he just keeps moving up in the ranks, kind of, you know. But in the spring of 1926, he was defeated by his opponent in an election. Ooh.
That pissed him off.
Yep. According to Monty J. Ellsworth in his eyewitness account called The Bath School Massacre, it's believed that this is what motivated his attack on the school, to harm as many children and community members as possible. So now we know who Andrew Kehoe is. He is responsible for the Bath School Massacre. But this shit escalates, and it escalates. You know the Ron Burgundy meme? Well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Kehoe's neighbor, who was only known by the name A. McMullen, said that for the year leading up to the massacre, for the year leading up to the massacre, Kehoe had pretty much stopped working his farm, and McMullen said that he was fearful that Andrew may have been planning suicide.
Okay, so the guy starts acting really sketchy and weird, and he's just like losing everything. And so A. McMullen thought that Andrew may have been planning suicide, even giving McMullen one of his horses in April of 1927. Andrew gathered up all of his tools, lumber, and materials and put them all in his shed, which he later blew up with a bomb. So this guy definitely gives off the suicidal vibe, right? I mean, he's giving his shit away. What else was he doing?
He basically gave all of his shit away.
He gave his horse away. He lost everything. He's acting all weird. I don't know. I get why his neighbor kind of got that vibe from him.
Right. No, and I can see that. So
he's not in a good state of mind, obviously.
No, not one bit. So we're backing up a little bit from 1927 to 1926. During the summer of 1926, Andrew had full access to the school as they had hired him back. They hired him to make some electrical repairs because that's what he did.
Yeah.
He was an electrician by trade. So, I guess strike one against the school.
Yeah. Well, he had already worked there before, so they weren't, like, thinking anything of it, right?
Right. I guess and I guess this was suicidal, signs, too.
That makes sense.
So, reportedly from mid-1926 on, he began buying tons of pyritol, which is an explosive that was used by farmers for excavation purposes.
Yeah.
So it didn't give off any red flags because he's a farmer. He owned a farm.
He was just buying his supplies.
But he would go and he would buy them in smaller quantities from different stores.
Okay. Well. Periodically. Yeah.
So, but in 1927, it's not like now where they have cameras up everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
So in November of 1926, he also he drove to Lansing and reportedly purchased 2 boxes of dynamite from a sporting goods store, which I don't go into sporting goods stores very often, but I imagine this guy walking into a fucking Dunham's or like an MC Sports and just being like, I need some dynamite. I don't think they sell it there,
No.
but that's kind of what I imagine.
Yeah.
But dynamite was also regularly used on farms at the time, so it was not unusual for him to buy it regularly in small amounts, and it didn't raise any eyebrows. In December of 1926, he also reportedly purchased a .30 caliber Winchester rifle.
Okay,
Yeah.
so he's getting a little sketchy there.
Right, but nobody's catching it.
Right.
Nobody's catching on
They're
to
not
this.
paying attention.
Right. So the massacre approaches. Prior to the day, Andrew had reportedly loaded up the back of his truck with metal debris that he could produce shrapnel in the event of an explosion.
Oh, I hate that.
Yeah. Oh, are you talking about what comes later?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
So, I mean,
Just shrapnel.
Yeah.
It's just, okay.
he's thinking this guy thought of everything though.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give him points in the fact that he thought of literally everything.
It's methodical, and it's not just something he thought of. It was a process.
Yeah. It was a multi-year process.
Right. That's
Yeah.
gross.
So, he even made sure to replace the tires on his truck to avoid a breakdown when transporting the explosives.
That's,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he was really dedicated.
He was pissed. I don't even
So
think he's
what?
rightfully
He got
so.
mad and
yeah.
was like, I want all the kids to die.
Yeah,
Why?
that's exactly what it was
The
too.
hell?
He was
I
just
know,
pissed about
it
the
literally-
taxes. That's
Okay.
literally what
So
led.
he's going to kill everyone's children and then
Yeah.
be like, you should have paid. Yeah, that's literally it.
He's
You
pissed
should've-
because the taxes went up, and he was pissed that he got beat in an election.
Did the taxes go up because of the school?
Yeah.
Okay, so he's going to kill all the kids at the school because, okay.
Yep.
I'm
So,
like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd do that too.
spoiler alert. Allegedly, a neighbor of his on multiple occasions saw Andrew carrying objects into the school at night, but never thought anything of it, nor did he think to report it. So, Andrew's wife, a lot of this time leading up to the massacre, had been hospitalized due to a case of tuberculosis, and she was discharged on May 16th. But she was murdered by her husband sometime between then and the bombing, which was only 2 days later.
Oh, okay.
Yep. He placed her body in a wheelbarrow behind the chicken coop and blew the entire farm, including the house, up. Her charred remains were later found along with 2 dead horses whose legs had been tied together to prevent them from being rescued.
Okay, but was that the same day that he went to the school? Because how does his whole farm and everything blow up with his wife and then like nobody notices or says anything?
So on May 18th at approximately 8:45 a.m., the explosion at the home occurred.
Oh,
Mhm.
gotcha.
As the firefighters were battling the blaze, Andrew reportedly pulled up in his truck and called out to them. He is quoted as saying, quote, "Boys, you're my friends. You better get out of here. You better head down to the school," end quote, and sped off.
Okay, so he did that and then was planning on taking off and heading to the school. Or he already did it at the school and then he took off. Okay.
Classes began as normal at 8:30 a.m., and reportedly Andrew had an alarm clock set in the basement of the north wing. This is where this gets a little weird, because according to the research, he also remotely detonated
the house.
the explosives that he had hidden at 8:45 a.m.
Okay.
So there's little weird like shit going on here, because supposedly the house blew up at 8:45 and the school blew up at 8:45.
Okay.
So
can't he just set a timer on it to go off? Or
yeah, Yeah, and that's what it was, too. It said he had an alarm clock set in the basement of the north wing and remotely detonated the explosives.
Right, so he had both of things happen at the same time. He was at the house, though. He told them they should probably get over to the school, and then he took off to the school. Okay.
Yeah. So, crazy nutso guy.
Yeah.
He's psychotic. So firefighters that were heading to the farm fire heard the explosion at the school and turned back to head in that direction. Parents who heard the explosion rushed to the school as well. In a matter of moments, what was a seemingly normal day of class became what's been described as a war zone, and in the initial explosion, 38 were killed, most of them children.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Your kids are about to start going to school.
Yeah.
My kids will be, well, my oldest will be going to school in, 3 years? People are crazier now than they were in 1927.
Yeah.
Now,
That's scary.
people were crazy in 1927 in like different ways, but people are nuts now.
Yep.
I think we talked about this in the Oakland County child killer episode, that people are just absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
And school shootings are crazy.
Yes.
So, a teacher at the school, her name was Bernice Sterling, she told a reporter, quote, "It seemed as though the floor went up several feet. After the first shock, I thought for a moment I was blind. When it came, the air seemed to be full of children and flying desks and books. Children were tossed high in the air. Some were catapulted out of the building." Yeah. And there are pictures online, too, of the aftermath. Yeah. The north wing of the school had completely collapsed from the blast. And Monty Ellsworth, that we talked about a little bit earlier, said, quote, "There was a pile of children of about 5 or 6 under the roof, and some of them had arms sticking out, some had legs, and some just their heads sticking out. They were unrecognizable because they were covered with dust, plaster, and blood. There were not enough of us to move the roof." So Ellsworth had volunteered to run back to his farm to get a rope that may be heavy enough to pull the school's roof off of the children. And when he was heading there, he passed Andrew heading the opposite direction toward the school. Quote, "He grinned and waved his hand. When he grinned, I could see both rows of his teeth." End quote.
That's fucked up.
Yeah.
This guy was like, he was happy because he was getting his revenge or whatever the fuck he thought it was. I don't know. But that's a horrible visual. Just kids flying through the air covered in blood and, oh, that's horrible.
Isn't that fucked up?
That's, I don't know. That's bad.
So, approximately a half an hour after the first explosion, Andrew drove to the school and saw the superintendent and brought him over to his truck. So he called out to him and was like, "Hey, come over here." At this point, nobody knew that Andrew really had anything to do with it.
Right.
And those that maybe had a suspicion were at Andrew's house fighting the fire.
Right.
So, has the superintendent come over to his truck, and the two get into a heated argument over the long gun that Andrew had in his truck. And before anyone knew it, he had detonated the dynamite that he had in his truck, which killed himself, the superintendent, a gentleman named Nelson McFerrin, and 8-year-old Cleo Clayton, who had earlier survived the first blast.
That's just sad. This kid made it through an explosion and like all of his little friends dying and thinks he's safe, and then boom.
Dead.
That's fucked up.
Right?
That's really sad.
Yeah. So after the truck explosion, Ellsworth said, quote, "I saw one mother, Mrs. Eugene Hart, sitting on the bank a short distance from the school with a little dead girl on each side of her and holding a little boy, Percy, who died a short time after they got him to the hospital. This was about the time Kehoe blew his car up in the street, severely wounding Perry, the oldest child of Mr. and Mrs. Hart." So, basically, after the dust settled and the investigations began, police found the body of Mrs. Kehoe and the dead horses at the farm, along with a sign that Andrew had left behind. The sign read, quote, "Criminals are made, not born." And that's the end of that. So
he's blaming everyone for this happening.
Yeah. So his motives...
I mean, that's his mindset.
Yeah.
But, God, he left a note. This is your fault, basically.
Yeah, basically said, you created me. I was not born this way. You made me this way. When in reality, no, he had every like, in... What am I trying to say? Everything in his power to change this. Change his mindset.
Yeah.
He was pissed about the higher taxes, and he was pissed that he got beat in a fucking election.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay.
So he blows up
So he
the
kills everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's... No, that's not something that is created. That's already there.
That's already there, buried.
Yeah.
Buried deep in the brain.
I'm not going to get upset about things and just think, I think I should start killing kids. That'll solve it. No. That's a different kind of mindset.
Hey, you got a problem? Yo, I'll solve it. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, no. So, Andrew Kehoe is just fucking nuts, man. And I can't believe, I was researching this and I was just not prepared. I was not prepared for a lot of the shit that I found.
The visuals it leaves you with is just terrible.
Yeah.
Like, it's really descriptive. And that's really bad.
Yeah. So there are pictures of the school after the explosion. Mm-hmm. I will post those on our Instagram if you haven't seen our Instagram yet. Those will be up there. You have any final thoughts?
Honestly, I think that's sort of the mindset that every criminal like that has. Basically, if someone, school shooters or whatever, there's a lot of those, a lot of shootings, and they don't think that they're doing something wrong. They think that they were wronged. So they are doing something to fix it or to get revenge. So, I mean, really, that's not surprising that he left the note that said that it's not his fault. I think that's probably pretty common in those type of criminals, but doesn't mean it's not fucked up.
Yeah. It's a psychiatric thing.
Yeah.
Like, obviously these people have something wrong in their brain to begin with.
Right.
So,
yeah,
there's something there, but at the same time, can't we all just be nice to each other? I mean, I'm not the nicest person in the world. I mean, you can say it. I'm an asshole.
Yeah.
I can be a major asshole.
Yeah.
You can be a major bitch.
No.
Yeah. However,
I'm not going to kill anyone.
Yeah, exactly. But at the same time, not everybody's brain operates the same.
Yeah.
So let's just be nice to each other. I sound like I want roses and daisies and
peace.
Rainbows and peace and man, we're going to the 60s now. Peace, love, unity, and respect. Plur. That was a fun rave. But no, I mean, just treat people with general respect. Yeah. Because not everybody's brain operates the same. What you say to somebody may not sound so bad in your brain, but to them it may be a big deal. That's kind of what I take out of it. But at the same time, he's a fucked up person.
Yeah.
Be nice, but you're fucked up. Well, he's dead, so it don't matter. So yeah. All right. You got anything else to add?
No.
All right. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.